Okay, so now our beds have dried, or they've flown through a little bit, and we're going to start the rinse process. So normally I like to rinse a lot, so they tell you to rinse with 10 to 20 bed volumes of your wash buffer, which in our case we're using just regular PBS, pH 7.4, and I like to do that about 4 times just to make sure everything's really, really clean. But since we're doing a co-precipitation, we don't want to wash off this thing that we're hoping to co-precipitate, or co-purify. So we're going to do it just with 20, well, we're going to do 15 bed volumes. We're just going to rinse it once. So I'm just going to grab my 1X PBS, which, here's my big stock of it. Looks like we're running a little bit low. And I'm actually, instead of just rinsing it straight up, I'm going to toss a little bit of PBS into these tubes and just try to get a little bit of the extra resin off of these and pour them in. It'll be kind of like our first rinse step. So that's the cream, 605. And it's very important when you're doing these protocols, you don't want to get any air bubbles in the bed. It doesn't matter if there's air bubbles above, but for some reason the interface between the air and the liquid is just very bad for proteins. Going a little bit low on our PBS. And finally get rid of these. Clear up a little bit of space here. We've done about half of a bed volume so far. And then once that gets through, I'm just going to do, I'm sorry, not half of the bed volume, half of our wash. So the bed volume is 1 ml of resin. So 10 to 20 bed volumes is going to be about 15. We're just going to go with 15. And I've rinsed with about 5 to 10. So if I give it one more rinse step, then we're going to be good for our purposes. Now, you can see that I'm running out of our 1X PBS here. So I'm going to top myself off. And I'm also running out over here. So I'm just going to go straight onto this one. Actually, I'm going to let that settle out completely. Looks like our 605 is settled. I'm just going to bring that back up. Get a good rinse. Get a good rinse there. And while those drain, we're going to make some more PBS. So in order to do that, we're going to take our 10X PBS stock, which is right here, and just pour 100 mils into here and then top it off to 1 liter. So I'm going to turn that around so you can see, here's our measurement. I'm going to unscrew that. We're starting off at about 900, so you have kind of 2 QC steps. And we're going to slowly pour it in and try to see from the side where 100 mils is. So we're getting close and almost there. There we go. And then double check. We're at 800. Perfect. So screw that back on. Bring this on over to our DI water. And I just try to spray it in the center so it gets mixed as the water goes in. And be careful when it gets too high because it may blow over. And the tick marks only go up to 900 mils, but there's a little ridge in the bottle, which is what I call the 1 liter mark. You can see that little ridge is right there. So now we have another liter of 1X PBS, which we're going to be using for all sorts of things. So that little extra mix. And it looks like our columns are ready to be finished up as far as the washing step goes. So I'm just going to pour a little bit more PBS. And that Cree. Just very little bit of PBS on our co-purifications. That's all I get. So now we're going to let those wash down, and then we're going to run our elution step. And in order to do an elution step, we have a protein elution buffer, which is just the same PBS, except that it has a little bit of imidazole mixed in with it. So it's about 1/3. This is 1/3 the concentration in here. And I'm actually running a little bit low on it, so we get to make that as well. So what the imidazole does is it looks very similar to a his tag, and it's much more concentrated than our protein sample. So when we throw it flow it through the buffer, it's going to preferentially, it's going to kick off our proteins, because it's going to bind to the same thing, to those beads that our his tag is binding to, and that's going to allow our protein to flow out, and we can collect our sample. So, in order to make our elution buffer, I'm going to grab a fresh falcon tube. And we want to have our elution buffer be 300 millimolar of imidazole, and we're just going to bring it up with PBS. So in order to do that, we can't just do this 1x because we've already made that. So this, we're actually done with this for now. But we want our solution to be 1/3 of this. So 1/3, if we had 100 mils, 1/3 of this would be 33. Or we actually want 300 millimolar, so it would be 30 mils. I could do math. So half of that, since we're working in a 50 ml conical vial, is going to be 15. So I'm just going to pour it right up to there. There we go. It's like a little bit off, but that's okay. A little bit stronger won't hurt. Then we want to have the rest of it be PBS. So if we have a 50 ml conical, we're going to use 5 mils of 10x PBS and then top it off with water. So for this, I'm just going to grab P1000. And I'm going to go in and out of here 5 times. So 1, 2. Double check on my pet, make sure there's no bubbles in there. So that's 3. Here's 4. And 5. And now we can just top it off with water. So for this, I'm actually going to top it off with slightly higher quality water. This water has been doubly distilled and autoclaved. We'll just make sure, yep. We buy this water special order. And I'm just going to take this up to 50 now. There we go, up to 50. Stand it all up. Move it off to this side, and I'm going to give this a quick shake. And then label it. And this is going to be 300 millimolars imidazole and 1xPBSPH 7.4. So now we're ready to elute. So in order to elute, I am going to get a 24 well block, and we're going to rearray these. We're just going to put in 4 mils of our elution buffer, and we're doing this in a 1x4. So that means 1 mil 4 times. We're going to collect our flow through, and then we're going to start doing protein gels. So we'll be right back.